Well, on my left we have the new iPad, and on my right we have the iPad 1. And as you can see, they are ever so slightly different physically. The older one is a little bit thicker. Well, the newer one's technically thicker, the older one just feels thicker. So the processor in the newer iPad is a bit faster. Let's do this again. Here we go. We get them both up at the same time. And we're going to play a movie off my network with live conversion. As you can see, the left one is a bit snappier.
I'm looking for a car.
A car? Hey pal, you can't get any further away from land than out here.
Exactly where I want to be.
Well, I got news for you, buddy. There's nobody out here but us.
As you can see here,
What are you doing out here?
Doesn't it look like genius?
I'm grabbing. We'll turn around. You go back where you came from.
Yeah, and who's gonna make me?
it's a little difficult to see because the camera I'm using to actually film this, it's a decent camera, but you need a really high speed camera to tell the difference between high definition and super high definition. The iPad on the left its display is definitely better. Now, the iPad on the right has an older version of the player software, so it's encoding a much smaller video stream than the one on the left. Yeah, see that? Oops. Oh, come on. Yeah. We'll do the photos. So basically, I prefer the new iPad. However, I'm a IT professional. I live and die and make all my money by knowing how to use these things and make these things work for other people. The iPad on the right is for my wife and my son. He likes it. It does everything he wants. As you can see here, he's got a lot of little foo-foo games on here that he can play. So this is used more as entertainment device. I mean, he plays games on it. My wife uses it to keep her contacts organized. She uses it to make notes. She uses it to jot things down so she doesn't forget it. She could actually do a lot more with it, but for most people there comes a point where you're spending more time making the thing work than the productivity that you gain from using it. But people like me, I like spending lots of time messing with my device and trying to make it do interesting and different things. But that's just me. That's not for everybody. The iPad is a really good device. It's almost a laptop, but it's very extremely portable. I mean, you can slap it in your briefcase. It's sturdy as hell. My son, when he uses this, he doesn't realize that he doesn't have to hit it as hard as he can to get the buttons to work. And so far, there hasn't been anything really happen to it except for extreme finger smudging from whenever he doesn't wash his hands very well after eating. It's a pretty nice device. These things are obviously heavily oriented towards multimedia content. They do pictures real well, they do music real well, and as you can see, they do streaming phenomenally. I mean, this little Air Video, you install the Air Video software on your server, either Macintosh or Windows, and then you get the player for your iPad or your iPhone. And then, did I just bump that? Yeah, sorry about that. Anyways, you have to buy the player for like $3 or $4 or however much it costs. I mean, it's ridiculously cheap. You come down here, and I can go into Aiden's little folder here. All of these kids movies that I have crunched for him are legally bought and paid for, so there's no need to worry about that in this instance. And you boot it up, and you can either convert the file and download it, which I don't recommend over a 3G connection or even an internet linked Wi-Fi connection, because your Wi-Fi might be really outstanding from your device to the Wi-Fi spot, and then you hit the internet, in which case all your packets and bits go willy-nilly and they all get arrived at the destination and rearranged the way they should be. So we do play with live conversion. Live conversion has the software on the computer actually compress the video stream and send it to you. Smaller video stream equals less delay equals better picture, yada yada yada. The computer that I'm serving this off of is a Pentium i7 950, 12 gigs of RAM, 4 Western Digital Raptor hard drives rated, so I really don't have to worry that much about the hardware in the house being a point of severe lag for this whole setup. And this is about it. Another misconception that a lot of people might have is the new iPad's processor is supposed to be twice as fast as the old iPad processor. CPU having twice as many clock cycles per second does not mean it actually goes 2 times faster than the other one every time. The way computers have been developing is it's not linear. Basically, these CPUs are able to ninja a whole lot of performance out of a small number of cycles. due to a lot of really, really smart people working for these companies that churn this stuff out. I could get into the nuts and bolts of how and why that works, but that would honestly just bore people to death. The main purpose of this is to show you the difference between the iPad 3, iPad HD, whatever you want to call it. Apple calls it the new iPad, and the old iPad, the iPad 1. Now, the one really great thing about the new iPad coming out is it is going to cause the iPad 2s and iPad 1s to actually become much cheaper than they really should be for what they do. So basically, if for like your kids, or like let's say your wife, or you, if you work at home and the wife goes out and has the job making all the money, you could use something like the old iPad 1 just to be a little, almost like a thin book. You can store all your information on it, store your recipes. You can put all kinds of information on it. It's real handy to use. It's the interface. The interface Apple has for their devices is phenomenal. I have not used another device that the screen is nowhere near as good as this one. So they did a really good job of going through and finding the right company to invent the right kind of screen. The interface is very intuitive. Go back, and your photos. I like the way the photos automatically sorts things out. You can sort them from events, albums, faces, and you gotta tag them or places. Now, a lot of people might be a little leery of this because having the places on your photos is kind of bad, because you're basically advertising to the whole world everywhere you've been whenever you upload photos like that. Basically, just when it comes to things of that nature, just be careful who you share them with. The only really place I put my photos online is on Facebook, and I rigorously control who I add to my Facebook list. So the sneaky peeky iPad pictures that have all the embedded data are really only out there for people that I know or that are related to me can look at them. The iPad 2, 3, whatever you want to call it, HD. Some people call it an HD iPad, but there's no HDMI port on it. It comes with FaceTime built into it. It comes with photo booth. It comes with a lot of these nice little things. Now, I'm assuming the reason why some of these extras come with this one and not that one is because these things probably require more processing power. Apple probably doesn't want to stick things on their iPad 1 to make it run like an iPad 0. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe you can download all this stuff on here. I do know that over time, the more you put on these devices, the slower they will get. So you kind of have to be mindful of that. Now, whenever I first got my iPhone or iPad, I noticed that the battery just always died, always drained faster than it should have. And then someone at work told me about going through and killing the apps that are running, because these things don't ever close the apps that they run. You double click the round button, and then here's all the apps. So just in this presentation alone, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. See, 7 applications were opened. The rest of these are from me playing with it. So we'll come through here and we'll close all these. It is pretty nice. You can sync your iPad. You can sync it with MobileMe, Gmail, Yahoo Mail. I mean, basically with all these people. Exchange account, AOL, Hotmail, and then other, you can program in a LDAP, lightweight directory access protocol account, add a mail account, as long as you've got all the right configurations and all that jazz. Basically, I used to not like Apple products because as a IT guy, and really before I was an IT guy, I kind of started out as a kind of a computer nerd in the 1990s, before all this stuff came about. And back then, you had total control over everything all the devices you bought did. You could change anything you wanted to about them. However, they were not as versatile and they weren't as powerful working in the computer all together with the operating system. You had to go in and you had to change little jumpers on motherboards and cards and stuff, and you had IRQ conflicts, and you had sometimes you'd put in a modem and then your serial port wouldn't work, or I mean, it was good in a way that you could control everything, but it was bad in a way that sometimes your total machine had issues. It required hours and hours and hours of playing with it to get it to work right. Then as soon as you're done getting it to work right, some modem company would come out with a 19.2 modem or a 28.8, and then you'd have to buy another modem and slap it in there and start the whole musical shit. Things don't work. Kind of like musical chairs with computers. Things have come a long way in the last couple of years. Everything is so tightly integrated. Cloud computing is going to become the next, I believe it's going to become the next big thing, simply because devices and computers at homes lack the ability to economically store as much data as people accumulate now. I mean, you have to spend hundreds and hundreds and thousands of dollars to get something that will store that much data and protect it from drive failures. So of course security is going to become a big issue. You're going to want your stuff encrypted. I use a few places to put my stuff online at, just in case one of them goes under, but not everything, just some stuff. Your iPads, of course, are going to be limited in size. I highly recommend having an iPad with a computer, or at least a laptop, because when these things might take a dump, and it's a whole lot easier to restore them from a computer than it is to try to fix them over the air, or you'd have to take them back to an Apple store. And that being said, unless I did something to cause it, I've not seen one of these devices flip out or wig out on me. I've never seen my iPhone lock up. My wife has an iPod, an older iPod, and I've never seen it lock up or die. She has an iMac now, and unless it overheats, it doesn't have a problem. And then she had a previous iMac, a Power Mac laptop that was Power Mac a long time ago, and we still have it. It still works. It's just slow. So all in all, I would say Apple does make good products. They're just a bit expensive. But like I said before, your iPad 1s and your iPad 2s are gonna be cheaper. And of course, the iPad 2s and the iPad 3s come with a nice little magnetic case cover here. And I don't know how much everyone out there in Cyberville knows about magnets. This magnet is actually very strong. I mean, unless you pull it off on purpose, I don't think it's gonna come off under normal wear and tear. I mean, I'm able to roll it up like this and hold it like that, and then I'm able to log in and do my stuff if I enter the right password. You're also able to set it up like this. It's kind of a display. I'm in Japan. This is an earthquake-prone country, so I won't leave it like that unless I'm doing something with it, because live here long enough and you will feel an earthquake. But that's not Apple's fault. I like the smart, they call it a smart cover. It's really just magnets. Whenever you close it, it automatically turns your device off. And SPIGEN is a company that makes cases and accessories for tablets and smartphones, and they make really good ones, and they make back shells that will actually not mess with this part of this front case. I like the company. I've heard nothing but good things about them and their customer service. I've not had a customer service issue. I just ordered one protective screen and it went on like a boss. It just worked. I didn't have any problems. It came with the squeegee just in case you had air bubbles. This case is something I bought at a local store, this little screen, so it's actually not that good. But it will prevent scratches and things of that nature. The iPad, it's totally customizable as far as I like it. Of course, it is legal to jailbreak your iPad, your iPhone, your iBox, your iTV, your whatever. However, Apple reserves the right to not fix it if you jailbreak it. So I'm not going to give any recommendations about that, one way or the other. I personally, I'm not a real big fan of jailbreaking or trying to hack the product to make it do something, because it doesn't really matter that much to me. Everything I need it to do, it does. It's not that big a deal. So this is it in a nutshell. All my wallpapers, these are not standard wallpapers. All the wallpapers are, as you can see, they're all of my son. So that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Your device will not come with a picture of a super awesome, one of the most cute kids in the whole world. Sorry about that. If you want to see photos and videos of him, I do have a YouTube page where I kind of went Truman Show on him, and I post a lot of videos of him there. But other than that, this about concludes my actual review. Of course, my review is mainly about usability, functionality, how it works, anecdotal, looking at it popping up faster, and this and that. This will be a work in progress. I do intend to find legitimate Apple software to put on these things and run some kind of benchmark so that you actually have a number to go with this, because just looking at this or that and saying, oh well, that one looks a lot faster, and that's not always scientifically accurate. It's not always a good way to make judgment calls about that. Of course, over here you would have the iPad 3. This is the iPad 1. You have the iPad 2 in the middle. This one does take pictures. It has a back video camera. It has a front facing camera. It's not the best camera in the world, but quite honestly, and then this is gonna be my sales pitch to the family people out there. Basically, there have been so many times where my son has done something that I really wanted to be able to capture on film and immortalize it for all eternity, and of course later to use as blackmail material when he's older and doesn't want it shown. But, and you know, your actual video camera is usually stuck somewhere, plugged into the computer, plugged into a power outlet. You know, it's behind something, because of course when you have kids, you've got to make sure kids can't reach all your expensive crap. So having a video camera built into your cell phone and built into your iPad and maybe one or two other various devices is actually pretty handy. You're able to actually snap some stuff of them, and of course all this stuff is HD recording. I mean, this iPad records HD, my iPhone records HD. This webcam I'm using right now to look at these iPads is HD web camera, and it's shooting high resolution. But unfortunately, this iPad has a lot more pixels than that camera will see. So, but you can kind of tell the difference between them. I mean, it's honestly, it's really hard to show people how much better this display looks than that display on something else that has a display that's not this good, or has a recording capability that's not this good. And a lot of people's monitors will not have the pixel density to actually show them that this one is better than that one. You have to actually, I would go into the store and I would look at it for yourself. I mean, the picture quality is better, but like some reviewers came out and made a big stink, and well, this thing's the best thing since sliced bread, and it's got better resolution than real life. And some people got a little, their expectations were set kind of high. This one's better than this one. Now, is it worth the amount of money Apple's selling it for? That remains to be seen. It really depends on what you want to do with these devices. I mean, they are incredibly powerful for their size. I use these things at work. I'm enrolled in college. I was reading all my study books off my iPhone for a while, but after a while you get weird muscle cramps in the corner of your eyes from squinting. I love the iPhone, but it's not a good textbook reader. So I am going to be doing most of my textbooks off of this device or off of actual paper book. I'll probably buy both. The brightness, the contrast, the lack of the CRT refresh rate. I mean, that used to kill my eyes. I can read off of both of these devices just fine. I just chose to wait till the iPad 3 came out because I wanted to get it. And now I'm gonna have to get into the last part of this, which might not be fun for a lot of people. A lot of people expect everything to be perfect. I have not experienced this, but I have read online that the iPad 3 or 2.5 or HD, whatever you want to call it, gets hot whenever you play video games on it. I've used it. I used the snot out of it. I don't play video games on it, obviously. I mean, just because I have a Pentium i7 950 with 12 gigs of RAM and gajillions of gigabytes of hard drive space, and I got NAS over here, and I've got an old Pentium DX4 quad core. I mean, basically I've got more than enough computers to play games on, and I don't particularly feel the need to play a game on the iPad when I'm out and about. I do currently reside in Japan, so going out in public and playing a video game and making lots of noise is actually considered quite rude here. So I choose not to do it. I got a Japanese wife. She'd probably slap me in the back of the head if I tried anyways. But as you can see, there are your devices. The main usability difference. I mean, this is the 64 gig version, no 3G. I just got Wi-Fi. The wife's iPad, I believe it's a 16 gigger. Let me come up here to general and about. And no, I got her a 32 gig. That's right. It doesn't sound right. I think she asked for 8 gig and I got her a 32 gig. Cause I just wasn't going to sit here and buy all this other high-speed stuff for me and then get her the cheapest one. I mean, it's still a good device, but over time, applications will be written for this with the better processors, so it will cause this to become slower. Another good thing if you have kids is whenever you do upgrade to the new iPad, you take the old iPad and of course you wipe off all the bank account information, and you go through and figure out ways to block all the bad sites and throw a lot of goofy kids games and kids things and drawing stuff on here, and it's actually a really good tool for children. The display is big enough that I don't think it'll affect the way their eyes develop as they're growing up. I do know that having kids play with this is not good for their eyes. It's not good for anyone's eyes to stare at it all day. So I think this screen size is like the sweet spot, because honestly this is how big computer monitors were in 1995. 12 inches, and they were a lot bigger, and they weighed like 180 pounds, and they took like RCA cables and they displayed 8 colors. So as you upgrade, you can take these things and you can repurpose them. You can repurpose an old iPad into just nothing but your books and recipes and stuff like that on it. Close it up in a shell to make it a little bit more scruff resistant, and kind of use it around the house. I mean, they've got things you can mount these things with. You can buy a $4 application, and then you can stream movies off your network with it using Wi-Fi. AirVideo takes the least amount of work to set up, and it just works. It's awesome. So, or you could get Plex, but Plex is a lot more difficult to set up. It's a little bit of pain in the butt, but if you've got a lot of time and you're a computer literate guy, Plex is good. You can definitely make it work. So herein lies the end of the iPad 1.3 comparison for the tech blog that I've been running. Tech blog's kind of new, but it's getting there. Basically, when it comes to IT and IT related things, there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's 10 ways to fix every problem. There's 10 ways to accomplish every goal. There is no one perfect way and every other way is wrong. That's kind of something that companies like to sell you because they want everyone to do stuff their way. I've never been a big fan of that. If you can make it work and it works, then I don't think it matters how you made it work. I mean, in math class, if you get the right answer, you got the right answer. The bridge will stand because the final result was correct. I try not to get boxed into there's only this way or that way to get something done. If you guys have any questions about any of this stuff, please feel free to leave comments on my blogs, or I have a Twitter account, but it gets an insane amount of traffic. I have a Facebook account just for blog people and people that buy my books. So if you guys want to look me up on there, I'll post the information on my blog of how to get a hold of me on there. And if you guys have any kind of tech related questions, you can ask me, and I'll try to find out for you, because if I don't know it off the top of my head, I do work with people who are actually really, really good at what they do. So we'll be able to find an answer. Now, you ask for something complicated, might get a book back explaining it, but that's neither here nor there. Most of the problems that I encounter, I'm able to actually go to Google and look stuff up. But now I've been doing this for about 20 years of my life, so I'm able to sift through the not true stuff on there. And I mean, there's other support forums. On my blog, I'll start linking to some of the other places where you can go for in-depth, asking questions and stuff. But I mean, it is what it is. If people are offering, I won't even go there. Anyways, I'll post relevant link information on my blog and my JP Amix Facebook. And I haven't gotten into it yet, but I might start writing computer books. But that's kind of a beast. But if I do write a computer book, the very first one is either going to be on this device or it's going to be on a Macintosh, and I will sell it on the iTunes store. Books like that I write based on the knowledge that the Air Force taught me, I generally don't plan to sell those for very much, because basically the taxpayers funded the Air Force, which taught me a lot of what I know. So I don't think that's a very ethical thing to take all that information and turn around and try to leverage it into a lot of profit. That's just me. So basically this is it for the iPad review. I just wanted to spend a lot of time on it because I think a lot of people are really interested in it. It is what it is. Basically, I put just a lot of my photos on here. Pictures of the kid, pictures of apartment, outside, inside. This is when we were looking at it to buy it. So, you know what? We were looking at apartments and we were walking into them, and most of them were really tiny and they didn't really have what I wanted, but I walked into this one and I saw that's the balcony and that's the ocean. I saw that, plus number one. In this closet is a network switch which feeds 100 meg full duplex Ethernet to the house. I've got 2 drops in the living room, 1 drop in one bedroom, 1 drop in the computer room, and 2 drops in the master bedroom. I upgraded that with a gigabit switch, and in here I have a gigabit switch. And I've got 2 Wi-Fi pops. One for all the Apple devices, and the other one for whatever, in case one breaks down. Something I learned in the Air Force: redundancy's the key to air power, hoorah, and all that good stuff. But yeah, I mean, this thing just makes a really, really great. Keep all your pictures on it. Something else I like about this thing. Move this over. Is push a button, it turns into a photo frame. Albeit one of the world's most expensive photo frames. But it is pretty nice. If you're doing nothing with it, why not? The newer versions of iOS has added a lot of functionality to that lock screen that I like. So, and these are places in Japan here, or that's Okinawa. So there's the wife, my wife, scuba diving. I've seen enough of that. Anyways, if you haven't bought an iPad 2, I highly recommend getting an iPad 3. I couldn't justify buying an iPad 3 if I had a 2, or maybe even if I had a 1. But this one's not mine. As a matter of fact, I had to wait till my son went to bed to do this, because every time I touch this, he freaks out. It's his. Even if I look at it and ask him, and he's like, "No, that's mine." That's in Japanese, you know. He's like, "That's my fire truck." I said, all right. So he's in bed, and I got to do the review. From now on, I think, well, from this point forward, I'm gonna review apps that were Apple Store apps that are designed specifically for the iPads 1, 2, and 3. I'm not a real big fan of trying to push people into buying something, you know, if they don't need it. So if all you need is iPad 1, then that's great. And we in the IT community should support people that want to do that. The people that want to buy the iPad 3 should be able to find some kind of support for what they need for their device also. And the same thing with the iPad 2. Since this is a little bit of a long interview, just to tell you a little bit about myself, I'm currently 34 years old. I enlisted in the United States Air Force in 1996. And I started out as a computer communications command control apprentice, which is military speak for IT/communication/telephone do everything guy. But from the early years to the latter years, everything started going network. All the multiplexes, which are devices that allowed all the phone signals to be able to be hooked into a box and then shot over one wire, they gradually became replaced with more intelligent and more microchip intensive devices, until finally you had routers with phone plugs on one side and Ethernet plugs on the other. And so that's the evolution of my career field, is I've kind of been moving that way. Got out of the Air Force in 2008, worked for a contracting company over here in Japan. I did network engineering in Okinawa for 2 years for a deployable comm system. And after that contract went away, I wound up working here in Yokosuka, which is where my wife's family lives near, so it works out for her. Basically, I provide IT tech support for Training Command and a lot of their little video teleconferencing needs, and setting up networks for them in the classrooms, and running LAN cables and stuff of that nature. Since I've been here, and I did so much work when I first got here that the system requires minimal maintenance now. Whenever the instructors aren't running around doing their classes. So I was able actually to study for 4 certifications last year, which is pretty nice. Got a Network Plus, Security Plus, Microsoft Cert, and CCNA. Now I'm enrolled in college, Excelsior, and that's about it. Well, as you can see, the new iPad's on the left and the old iPad's on the right. The screen on the new iPad does look a lot sharper, and whenever you pull them up, they look about the same. So we'll go on ahead and do that number right there. Now, the new iPad is quite a bit faster. It seems to be a lot snappier. The display's a lot better. But I mean, basically, it depends on what you want to do. If you want a kind of laptop, but not quite, the new iPad's the way to go. If you, fuck it. Yeah, there's no way I can fucking